Sometimes you got to cut people off. Huddle up, Coach T speaks. Bro, sometimes you got to cut people off. Snip, snap, snip, snap. Sometimes you got to cut them off. Sometimes you got to cut them off in your circle. Sometimes they're not one to increase their dating life. Maybe they feel like they're good right now with the 2s and 3s and they're content with that. And you're trying to date at a high level, the 9s and 10s. You're trying to get something more out of life. You know there's something more out there for you. Sometimes you got to cut them off. And then there's some past relationships. Some of these chicks, some of these women you're trying to hold on to and make it work. And you're trying to square a circle. Bro, if it's not working, it's not working. It's okay. Sometimes you got to cut them off. For your peace, for your sanity, sometimes you got to cut them off, bro. Sometimes you got to cut off that past relationship totally. In order to create new space for bigger things to enter in your life, sometimes you got to cut people off. That's the reality, bro. That's the facts, fellas. Sometimes cutting off people it's not even about anger. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, your growth. Not everyone can go with you, bro. Everyone can't go with you to that next stage of your life. This is your life we're talking about. This is your happiness we're talking about right now. It's all about you, bro. Let me break this down to you. Here are about 7 clear signs it might be time to cut someone off. You ready for this? Constant negativity. If you're around someone and they drain your energy, they complain nonstop or bring drama into your life, that's a good reason to cut someone off. Maybe they lack respect for you. Maybe they lack respect for your relationship. They cross those boundaries, dismiss your feelings, or talk down to you. That's a good reason to cut them off, bro. Maybe it's a one-sided effort. You're always the one reaching out or supporting, or giving to them, but they rarely reciprocate that back to you. It's rare. That's a good reason to cut them off, bro. Maybe they're a toxic influence on you. They encourage bad behavior, discourage your goals, or hold you back. That's a real good reason to cut them off, bro. Betrayal or broken trust, repeated dishonesty, manipulation, disloyalty, that's a good reason to cut them off. Snip, snap. Maybe there's no growth in your relationship. Just being around them doesn't help you move forward. You trying to move forward in this direction, it's almost like it's just too much baggage trying to pull you back. You feel like you're stuck. They're stuck, so now they got you feeling stuck. A good reason to cut them off. Here's something I want you to do. This is a test I want you to do. Peace versus chaos test. Hear me out. Peace versus chaos test. Ask yourself, do I feel lighter or heavier when I interact with this person? When I'm around this situation, when I'm around this woman, when I'm around this kind of vibe, does it make me feel lighter? And do I feel joy and peace and happiness? Or do I feel down and depressed and just feel like all is lost? That's how you tell, bro. And I think you know the answer. If you chose the latter, I think you already know the answer. Snip, snap, snip, snap. Some people say bros over. I'm not going to go there. But what I will say is sometimes you got to cut off some bros and sometimes you got to cut off some no's. Let's just say that. Some no's and some bros. Speaking of these are just facts, bro. I want you to pause this video. I want you to hit like. I want you to hit subscribe to this channel because every day you're going to be notified. I'm going to be coming bringing you a new hot one and I'm going to be speaking more facts, my guy. I'm going to be coming to you every day, so huddle up. But yeah, sometimes when you're cutting people off, bro, that means just no contact. Sometimes it just means no contact. And at other times, it just means, you're creating a firm boundary. You're creating boundaries, less access, less energy given. Save that energy for yourself. Let me show you how to peacefully cut someone off. And, I want you to take me serious about this. You can cut somebody off without having unnecessary drama, bro. You can really, it's possible. And how to set some boundaries if you're cutting them off, if you just can't cut them off completely, if that's just not possible, I'm going to show you a couple of different things you can do. If you need to cut somebody off completely, you're going to have to be clear and you're going to have to be direct. There's no way around it. You're going to have to be clear and direct. A short, firm statement is enough. I don't think this relationship is healthy for me. I'm stepping away. You see how I did that? Hey, look. I don't think this friendship, this relationship, I think you're cool, whatever. Hey, we had a good time, but I got to step away. Period. And don't over-explain, bro. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. Don't over-explain. You don't owe anybody some long laundry list of reasons. No, bro, because too much explaining invites debate. You're not debating. You already made a decision. Stick to that decision, bro, and limit your contact. If you have to block somebody, if you have to unfollow them, if you got to put them on mute, if necessary, remember, bro, protecting your peace is not being cold, bro. I know they say these streets is cold sometimes. Protecting your peace and your happiness is not you being cold. It's being responsible to yourself. It's being responsible for your well-being, your peace of mind. And stick to your decision. They may try to guilt trip you or, reel you back in. Stay firm out here, bro. Stay firm. Stick to your decision. Now, some of you, if you can't cut them off completely, I get it, bro. I get it. So you can't cut them off entirely or you choose not to. Well, you got to decide, bro. You got to set some limits. For example, I'll say, look, I'll hang out with you, but, we're not going to discuss certain topics. Limit those conversations that you have, but set your own limits, bro. And communicate it calmly. Everything doesn't have to be like, oh, yeah. That's not necessary. I value our relationship, but I need to protect my peace. I won't tolerate this, that, or the other anymore. I value our relationship, but I need to protect my peace. Does that make sense? And reduce your access, bro. Maybe it's going to have to be shorter texts, maybe shorter calls, maybe less time spent together, maybe no more answering, those late night texts. If that disturbs you in your spirit and it makes you feel some kind of way, reduce that. Don't even answer and follow through. Whatever you decide to do, follow through. Boundaries only work if you enforce them. They don't work if you're not enforcing them out here. The key question to ask yourself, here's a litmus test. You want to figure out how to do this? Ask yourself this question, bro. Go look in the mirror and ask yourself this question. Does this person add value to my life? Or do they take away from it more often than not? Does this person add value to my life? Or are they just taken away more often than not? You know why I want you to ask yourself that question? Because your time, your presence, your energy is too precious to not protect it. It's too precious to not protect it, bro. You live one life. When you get ready to spend it, make sure you're spending it on the right dating situation out here, bro. You deserve to win. You deserve to win really, really big. And you also deserve to be happily dating. You deserve, bro. You deserve to knock one out the park. You deserve to be okay emotionally with whatever you decide to do. It's your life we're talking about. This is your dating life. Huddle up, huddle up. Coach T speaks.